Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for being here as always, and today we're going to talk spoiler-free about Leia, Princess of Alderaan, written by Claudia Gray. This book is actually one of two books that were released on September 1st, these two books being the first in the Road to the Last Jedi series of novellas and young adult novels and full-blown novels that we're going to get in between now and December. Oh, piece of fuzz. Now, is Leia, Princess of Alderaan required reading? I would say it's as required as any of the Road to the Last Jedi books. In between Leia and the little bit that I've gotten into Phasma, I've got the feeling that these Road to the Last Jedi books are going to be just as good, if not better, than the stuff that we got in the Road to the Force Awakens back in 2015. They're not required reading. You're not going to need these books in order to enjoy the film, but you're going to get a more fulfilling experience from knowing these stories and from understanding these characters just a tiny bit better and understanding that particular event just that much better. Some quick non-spoiler examples for things that Claudia Gray weaves into this book is... like, we get to meet a character that we're going to be meeting in The Last Jedi. We get to see how Leia started out as a younger person and how she got her way into the rebellion, how she got her start helping out her parents in the rebellion. And we also get to see other locations that we're going to see in The Last Jedi. All of these things are going to feed into the story that Rian Johnson and his team are going to give us in December. Now, let's look at this book in a vacuum. How good is it, not considering that episode 8's coming? It's really good. It's not necessarily for me. Just like all art, it's subjective. So there's no such thing as saying objectively, I think it's a good book. I think that I didn't get as much enjoyment out of this book as I've gotten out of other books, simply because of all the young reader books that we've gotten in the new canon, books like Lost Stars or Rebel Rising. Leia, Princess of Alderaan is probably the most young adulty. I know that's not a word, but it's the most... How do I put this? It has a very basic story outline, but I've realized since reading it that you have to look at it more as a character journey rather than a story that the character is developing through. And that character is Princess Leia, completely. We got to see cynical Senator Leia in Bloodline. We get to see young rebel leader Leia in the films. We get to see General Leia in the sequel trilogy. The one thing that we've never really seen in canon or in Legends, if I recall correctly, is young Leia. Leia being and growing into the young rebel leader that she becomes. And Claudia Gray does an amazing job with this character. I said it in my Bloodline review that I'll leave up in the corner there. Claudia Gray has such a great handle on this character for me. Claudia Gray's Leia is my favorite non-film Leia. It's just something about the way that Claudia Gray writes her dialogue, or how she handles how Leia deals with things, like how Leia's decision-making processes, right? I know English, I promise. There's something about the way, maybe it's the cadence of the voice, the rhythm of the speech pattern or something. Like, don't get me wrong, we've got tons of other authors that have written for Leia. We've gotten Chuck Wendig has written for her. We've gotten, in Legends, we had Zahn writing for her all the time. But Claudia Gray's Leia, just with all due respect to the other authors that have written Leia before, Claudia Gray's got such a handle on this character, it's insane. It feels like Claudia Gray has this entire psyche. It's almost as if she has lived Leia's life. Like she's experienced what Leia has started out as, became, grew into, grew older as, and then turned into what we see in the sequel trilogy. That's how well Claudia Gray seems to know the character. Now, with all that being said, yeah, Leia, Princess of Alderaan, it's much more kid-ish. The basic story outline is relatively simple, and you do have some very, I don't want to say tropes, but things that you know are going to happen just because of the meta of the Star Wars universe. We know this character is doing that, so that's probably why this character is doing this at that point in time. And we know that this isn't going to turn into anything because, well, we've seen the original trilogy. And we know that she's going to end up managing to do this because she becomes this later on. You know, we get that sort of feeling from, or at least I got that sort of feeling from the overarching story. But again, when you pick up this book, which you should, try to look at it as a character journey as opposed to a story that the character is traveling through. That's the biggest piece of advice that I can give you once you go ahead and listen to this book or read this book. By the way, I listened to it on Audible myself personally just because that's the most efficient for me. The narrator, I cannot remember her name for the life of me. I'll put it up on the screen here. She did a wonderful job. She's completely unknown narrator to me. I've never listened to her before, and she did an amazing job. I think that about does it for my thoughts on Leia, Princess of Alderaan, at least my spoiler-free thoughts. I do look forward to getting into the spoilery version of this review later on. Hopefully getting that up for you guys the day after this one is uploaded. Thank you guys as always, and may the Force be with you.